Live, Eala vs Alycia Parks, Australian Open 2026 first round. Eala competes in her first Grand Slam tournament this year at the Australian Open 2026. The Filipino tennis rising star takes on USA's Alycia Parks in the first round. Eala, the world number 49, is participating in the Melbourne main draw for the first time after a string of first-round exits in the qualifying round over the past 3 years. Final, Eala falls to Alycia Parks, 6-0, 3-6, 2-6. Parks is on the verge of a comeback win with a 5-2 advantage in the third. Parks takes a 4-2 lead against Eala. Eala keeps Parks within striking distance. 2-3. Parks regains momentum with a 3-1 win. Eala sweeps Parks in the third game to cut the deficit to 1-2. Parks takes a 2-0 lead in the deciding third. Parks overcomes Eala in the opening game of the third for a 1-0 lead. Alycia Parks forces a decider after winning the second set against Alex. Eala, 6-3. Parks is on the verge of taking the second set with a 5-3 lead. Eala falls short, as Parks regains lead. 4-3. We're tied at 3. Eala bags the sixth game. Eala makes it a 1-point deficit, winning the fifth game. 2-3. Eala dominates the fourth game to cut Parks' lead to 3-1. Parks extends her lead to 3-0. 2-0 start for Parks. Parks takes the first game of the second set. Eala blanks Alycia Parks to take the opening set. 6-0. Eala is a game away from winning the first set with a commanding 5-0 lead. Eala cruises to a 4-0 lead as the Filipino crowd celebrates anew. The Filipino tennis sensation continues to dominate with a 3-0 advantage. Eala blanks Parks in the second game to take a 2-0 lead. The Filipinos cheering, "Let's go Alex! Let's go!" At Melbourne Park, Eala survives the tight first game to draw first blood after 8 break points. Eala to serve as the game is now underway. Eala warms up in front of the Filipino fans. Refresh this page for live updates of the match. Manila, Philippines. Coming off a banner year in 2025, Eala looks to take her game to the next level, starting with the Australian Open 2026. After a breakout season highlighted by a dream run at the Miami Open in March 2025, Eala is set to make her long-awaited Australian Open main draw debut when the tournament fires off on January 18th. The Filipino tennis sensation faces Alycia Parks in the first round as she finally completes appearances in all 4 Grand Slam main draws. Manila, Philippines. Eala will make her Australian Open main draw debut on Sunday against American Alycia Parks, currently ranked world number 100. The 20-year-old Filipino, ranked world number 49 by the Women's Tennis Association, was drawn against Parks in the first round of the season's first Grand Slam. Parks reached the round of 32 at the Australian Open in 2024 and owns a career-high ranking of world number 40. Manila, Philippines. Eala was crowned champion of the 2026 Kuyong Classic ahead of her Australian Open debut. The Kuyong Classic named Eala the women's singles champion of the professional exhibition event held in Melbourne. The Filipino tennis sensation received the Yvonne Goolagong-Coley Trophy, named after the former world number 1 Australian netter and 7-time Grand Slam champion. Live, Eala vs Alycia Parks, Australian Open 2026, first round. Melbourne wakes early in January, but Rod Laver Arena wakes earlier. By the time the sun stretches its pale gold fingers over the city skyline, the stadium is already humming, coffee cups steaming, flags draped over shoulders, conversations bouncing between languages. It is the first round of the Australian Open 2026, a day usually reserved for new beginnings, quiet upsets, and the kind of matches that don't always make headlines but often make history. Today, though, the crowd knows there's something special brewing. On one side of the court stands Eala, calm and compact, her movements economical, her eyes sharp with intent. On the other is Alycia Parks, power coiled in every muscle, racket resting against her shoulder like a weapon waiting for command. The scoreboard is blank, but the tension is already written in the air. This is not just a match. It is a collision of styles, of journeys, of belief. The opening notes. The umpire's voice slices cleanly through the chatter. Time. Eala bounces on her toes, adjusting her visor. Parks takes one final practice swing, the sound of her strings cutting the air like a warning. The coin toss is brief. Parks elects to serve. From the first ball, the contrast is unmistakable. Parks' serve explodes off a racket, a flat missile that whistles past Eala before the Filipino star can fully react. A few gasps ripple through the stands. 0 to 15 becomes 0 to 30 in a blink. The message is clear. Alycia Parks has come to dictate. But Alycia has never been defined by first impressions. On the next point, she reads the serve early, takes it on the rise, and redirects it down the line with a precision that feels surgical. The rally stretches. Parks unloads forehands. Eala absorbs, redirects, reshapes the court like a chessboard. When Parks finally nets a backhand, Eala lets out a quiet fist pump. The crowd leans in. Momentum has a pulse. The first set becomes a rhythm battle. Parks holds serve with power, aces, unretainables, service winners that leave chalk dust floating near the baseline. But every time Eala steps up to serve, the tempo changes. Her delivery isn't loud, but it's clever. Wide angles, sudden body serves, disguised placements that pull Parks out of her comfort zone. At 3 to 3, the match cracks open. Eala earns 2 break points with relentless defense, retrieving balls that seem already won. On the second break point, Parks goes big. Too big. Her forehand sails long. The crowd erupts as Eala breaks serve. For the first time, Alycia Parks looks unsettled. She taps her strings. She exhales sharply. Power alone, she realizes, may not be enough today. The weight of expectations. Alycia walks to her chair at the changeover with a stillness that suggests control, but inside her mind is anything but quiet. She remembers the long flights, the early mornings, the voices that once called her promising and waited to see if she'd ever become more. This court, this moment, is proof that she belongs. Across the net, Parks stares at the opposite baseline, jaw clenched. She has heard the whispers too, that she relies too much on her serve, that patience isn't her strength. Matches like this are where reputations are rewritten or reinforced. The first set reaches 5 to 4 in Eala's favor. Saving for the set, she faces pressure immediately. Parks attacks the retain, stepping inside the baseline, hammering a retain winner that draws a roar from her supporters. 15 to 30. But Eala does not flinch. She constructs the next point carefully, pulling Parks wide before finishing at the net. Then, on set point, Parks double faults. The set is over. 7 to 5, Alycia. The applause is loud, appreciative, tinged with surprise. The storm responds. Champions, or those who aspire to be, do not fade quietly. Parks comes out swinging in the second set, her intensity turned up a notch. She shortens points, takes risks, and finds her range. A break comes early, punctuated by a screaming forehand winner that lands inches inside the sideline. The crowd shifts. Momentum is a living thing.